Shocked by his outburst, she revealed her hidden talent and amazing engine transformation. The tension in the garage buzzed like a faulty ignition. Kelly tightened her grip on the wrench, every turn a battle with her rising frustration. "I'm just saying I expect quality work. This is unacceptable." The customer's words cut deep, each accusation landing like a hammer blow. Kelly's heart raced, her mind scrambling for a rebuttal. She could feel Ethan's eyes on her, reflecting a mixture of admiration and apprehension. For years, she had lived in the shadows of this small town, her dreams muted under the weight of responsibility. After leaving college, the dreams of being an engineer faded as quickly as her youth. Feeling vulnerable, she glanced at Ethan, his 16-year-old face caught between admiration and worry. When had her world become so tightly wound in expectations and doubt? Gripping the wrench tighter, she felt a familiar stirring beneath her frustration, a flickering flame of ambition she had kept tucked away. But would she tarnish what little credibility she had by admitting to her failures? Her heart pounded, wrestling with panic and despair. She was just a mechanic in the eyes of this community, an image crafted by sacrifice and circumstance. If she spoke up, would they dismiss her ambition as nothing more than a desperate attempt for approval? "Ethan, help me here," she muttered, seeking refuge in the only person who could truly understand her struggle. Her anticipation shifted back to the customer, now folding his arms as if to assert dominance. "Can't believe you're letting your son do the work instead of you." Sad. And then, it happened. "Shut up." Ethan's voice erupted, a mix of youthful fire and protective instinct coloring his tone. Silence ensued. All eyes turned toward him. Kelly's breath hitched. What had he just done? But instead of anger, she felt a peculiar sense of pride creeping in. He had courage, where she had once been consumed by self-doubt. "Do you think I'm not serious about this?" She found herself snapping back. The chuckles from the onlookers felt like daggers, but her voice was stronger than before. "Look, I used to thrive in engineering. I had dreams too. Life changed, and I shifted gears." The words spilled forth a secret she hadn't shared, trembling on the edges of confession. Her heart raced, each word a bitter truth she had buried deep. Ethan caught her eyes again, his expression ignited with newfound hope. "Mom, we can still do that engine project for the competition. It could be our chance." A dangerous whirlpool of fear and determination surged through her. The voices of judgment played back in her head, calling her and Ethan foolish for their grand ideas. The weight of the world pressed down harder now, twisting knots in her stomach as she considered the risk. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue." The garage suddenly felt claustrophobic. The laughter of judgment and doubt echoed, battling with the spark of possibility ignited between them. Could they really build an engine that would showcase their hidden talents? The stakes were high, and yet there was a wild, intoxicating allure to the challenge ahead. Anxiety clawed at her throat, reminding her of all she had to lose. But as she exchanged glances with Ethan, his determination mirroring her own, she felt a stirring of hope amidst despair. Moments later, the power briefly flickered, casting the room into temporary darkness as a storm rolled in. The lights buzzed, flickering back on, but a sense of foreboding engulfed her. Heart racing, she felt the threat of impending disaster hanging over their heads. Would fate conspire against them now, just as their dreams began to take shape? The road ahead didn't promise a graceful journey, and Kelly's fear deepened. As they began to clean up, her chest tightened at the possibility of failure, wondering if they could withstand the trials to come or if everything might shatter right before her eyes. The storm outside mirrored Kelly's inner turmoil as she stood amidst the tools and oil-streaked workbenches, each item a reminder of her life choices. A conflict raged within her, fear of judgment battling with a burgeoning desire to reclaim her identity. The flicker of the overhead lights seemed to synchronize with the flicker of hope she felt every time she glanced at Ethan. That brief moment where he stood up for her, igniting something long smothered, seemed like a turning point. Packing their tools almost felt like a betrayal of their aspirations. She hesitated at the last wrench, the metallic weight in her palm suddenly heavy with consequence. What if she released it, only to crush her and Ethan's ambitions under the weight of her own doubts? Mom. Ethan's voice pulled her from her reverie, soft yet penetrating. Can we really do this? I mean, an engine project for the competition? Together? His eager eyes shone with a youthful fervor she desperately wanted to mirror. The question wasn't just about their potential success. It was a plea for her to believe in something again, to believe in herself. Could she dare to dream again? The professional training she once poured her heart into echoed in the recesses of her mind. She could picture herself hunched over blueprints, calculating the coefficients and weights, all while surrounded by peers and mentors who respected her abilities. But the image was shadowed by years of doubt and the voices of naysayers who had turned her confidence into a shattered reflection. Ethan, I don't know if, she began, but something blunt and urgent interrupted her, the sound of raindrops pummeling the roof like a drum roll, signaling a moment of truth. She looked up, drawing in a deep, steadying breath. Instead of recoiling from the storm, what if she let it fuel her? Of course we can, she suddenly asserted, the words bursting forth like an engine roaring to life. We'll build the best engine they've ever seen. The confidence that surged through her wasn't just a facade. It felt real. She saw Ethan's face brighten, the shadows of doubt lifting just enough to reveal a glimmer of potential. But Mom, it's going to be hard, he cautioned, his youthful exuberance tempered with a hint of reality. What if we fail? Failure is just part of any journey, she replied, feeling the tremor of apprehension in her own voice. We need to own our mistakes, learn from them, and push forward. With that realization, she felt a familiar rush, one that had eluded her for so long. They weren't embarking on a sure path to victory. They were entering uncharted territory, and it would define who they could become. With renewed resolve, they set to work, sketching out plans and discussing materials. Ideas flowed, each suggestion from Ethan reverberating with excitement. Kelly felt alive again, as if the engine of ambition was revving to life inside her. While organizing bolts and brackets, she remembered the last competition she'd entered years ago. The thrill, the challenge, the complete immersion in a world of engineering. What if she could introduce Ethan to that? As they brainstormed late into the evening, the storm outside began to fade, but the glow inside the garage was warm and inviting. She caught herself savoring each moment, the sound of their laughter rising above the clanking of tools and the rustling of papers. Yet, despite her newfound enthusiasm, a whisper of worry still lingered. A faint memory of that customer's derision hung in the air, taunting her with reluctant reminders. How was she to face him if they didn't succeed? Would the same community that had dismissed her in the past linger in the shadows, ready to tear her ambitions apart? The question haunted her as they wrapped up for the night, their plans just beginning to take a tangible form. The flickering bulb struggled to maintain illumination, casting wavering shadows like her confidence. But for the first time in a long while, she felt the urge to step into the light instead of retreating into the darkness. The challenge loomed before her like a mountain range, daunting yet filled with promise. As they shut the garage door, the first blush of dawn pushed through the storm clouds. She made a silent vow to create the best engine they could, for herself and for Ethan. In that vibrant moment of possibility, she heard a voice nudging her even deeper into the complexities ahead. But what if this time you can't face the ghosts of your past? The air crackled with anticipation as she tapped into the strength of determination. It was not just an engine they were building. It was a turning point, a transformative moment. The next chapter wouldn't just be about the project, it would challenge the very core of who she had become. Would she rise, or risk crumbling under the weight of expectations? Ethan's anticipation ignited a dormant spark within Kelly that she couldn't ignore. The dawn promised new beginnings, but with it came the stirring of fear, like fresh paint over old scars. They had sketches and ideas, yet the lingering doubt slithered through her mind, a reminder of failures past, a constant rival that threatened to drain her resolve. As the sun rose, bathing the garage in a warm glow, Kelly rummaged through the shelves, searching not just for tools, but for the pieces of herself she felt she had lost somewhere along the way. She unearthed a dusty toolbox, its lid creaking open, revealing not just instruments, but memories of her former self, a self who was confident, a self who thrived in challenge. "What do we do first, Mom?" Ethan's voice jolted her back to the present. For a moment, considering their options, she was struck by an idea, a sequence of steps that felt entirely natural, like slipping back into an old routine. "Let us draft out the specifications together. If we define our goals clearly, we can build our strategy." They settled in at the workbench, pencils scratching against paper. As they transformed vague notions into concrete plans, Kelly could feel flickers of clarity sharpening her focus. Each stroke of the pencil not only outlined their aspirations, but also her resolve. Each detail became a resolute exclamation mark to her own self-doubt. "I was thinking," Ethan piped up, breaking her concentration. "What if we designed the engine with a dual exhaust? It'll look cooler and sound amazing." Kelly smiled, the enthusiasm in his voice infectious. "What a brilliant idea. That not only increases performance, but makes it unique." And just like that, the walls she had subconsciously constructed began to wobble. His confidence radiated through the space and helped drown out the whispers of her insecurity. She encouraged Ethan, voicing all the ways his ideas could enhance the project. Nurturing his creativity made her reflective. It fueled her own passion in a way she hadn't anticipated. As days turned into weeks, they navigated the current of their shared vision, often getting tangled in complex calculations and design adjustments. Yet, in every small victory, a fitting that snapped perfectly in place, a measurement that added up correctly, Kelly found herself soaring. The fear that had once stifled her ambition dissipated, replaced by pure exhilaration. But a lurking shadow danced in the back of her mind. Every time they prepared to show their design to someone, anticipation shifted towards anxiety. How would they respond? Would her past echo in the form of harsh judgments? After a particularly long session, as they cleaned up for the day, Ethan stepped back and surveyed their hard work, then turned to her. "Mom, this is really cool. What if we actually win?" The question hung in thick air. Winning felt like a steep cliff, far removed from their current reality. Unlike before, this time she didn't want to ignore the voice that warned her of potential disaster. "You know, even if we don't win, that's okay," she said, trying to infuse their plans with realism. "What matters is creating something we're proud of." Ethan, however, wasn't convinced. "But you've always wanted to win. It's about proving everyone wrong, right?" His words bore into her. The reality was not simply about proving others wrong, but about uncovering the strength within herself. They needed to prepare for the possibility of failure while embracing the learning process. This was about redefining her worth, not just reclaiming it based on external validation. As they walked back inside, the storm of emotions within Kelly was palpable, sparking an unexpected awareness. What if her real challenge was not the project itself, but the confrontation of those insecurities she avoided? Ethan's unwavering belief in her made her ask anew. What hidden talents lay buried deep underneath layers of doubt? The moment she stilled her frayed nerves, a thought crystallized, one that could pry the door open to her long-suppressed potential. Maybe, just maybe, I can use my past experiences to transform our ideas. The realization sent a shiver down her spine, both liberating and terrifying. Could this be the key to changing not only their engine, but her entire trajectory? The tension weighed heavily on her as she looked at the blueprints spread out on the table. Looking back, she could almost see her past self on the horizon, beckoning her to reclaim the dreams she once had. But as that unknown loomed closer, she embraced the uncertainty, eager to face the next challenge. "What will you uncover about yourself now?" The whisper echoed in her mind as they prepared for the next step. Would it finally be time for her to confront not only the ghosts of her past, but also the fierce potential within? With the blueprints laid out before her and the weight of expectation heavy on her shoulders, Kelly felt a mix of exhilaration and trepidation. Ethan's enthusiasm was palpable, but the fear of failure loomed larger than ever. Yet, there was no escaping the realization that this was her chance and opportunity to reclaim her voice, not just as a parent, but as a creator. They began the next phase of their project with renewed diligence. Every evening after dinner transformed into workshop hours. Each moment became a lesson, a test of not just their engineering skills, but of Kelly's evolving confidence. She took on tasks she once avoided, cutting and assembling parts with a precision that surprised even her. "Mom, you're really good at this," Ethan exclaimed one energetic evening as she expertly fitted a piece into place, his admiration fueling her resolve. The spark he lit within her morphed into a flame. She felt competent, capable, and even proud. Each moment spent crafting their design was a small step towards reclaiming her identity. Yet, as the garage buzzed with their collaboration, moments of self-doubt still attacked. What if their creation didn't work? What if it mirrored her past failures? Although she could see the possibilities unfolding before them, those old fears could easily creep back in. She had to confront this nagging uncertainty head-on. On an uncharacteristically quiet night, while Ethan worked on sketching additional details for their engine, Kelly's mind wandered back to her past endeavors. She recalled the excitement and ambition she had once possessed. Thoughts tumbled into a flurry, ultimately leaving her feeling stuck in a cycle of what-ifs. Gathering her courage, she decided it was time to communicate with Ethan about those fears that had resurfaced. "Ethan," she began, her voice steady but gentle, "there's something I need you to understand. I've struggled to push through my insecurities for so long. Sometimes I feel overwhelmed, and I worry about failing again. We both need to understand that it's okay to not have all the answers and to face challenges together." For a moment, Ethan was silent, absorbing her words. Then he looked up with wide eyes, a mixture of understanding and determination crossing his youthful face. "But that's why we're doing this, right? To figure it out together? Don't you think we'll learn more from mistakes than from just getting it right?" His insight struck her. Ethan was right, and his perspective shifted her own. The process of building their engine was as much about the experience as it was about the end result. The challenges they faced together, the learning, the laughter, and even the frustrations, these were the core of their journey. With Ethan's encouragement resonating within her, Kelly felt inspired to unveil another layer of her creativity. She invited him to brainstorm ways they could integrate unconventional features into their design. While they bounced ideas off each other, her mind whirred with possibilities. Perhaps they could transform a traditional concept into something innovative. What had initially felt like a mechanical project began morphing into an artistic endeavor. The design became more than just nuts and bolts. It represented her struggle, an emblem of her journey to rediscover personal strength. That night, as they settled in, Kelly drafted an ambitious new sketch that merged aesthetics with functionality. Her hand glided across the page, channeling everything she'd held back. When she revealed the design, Ethan's eyes lit up, brimming with excitement. "Our engine could embody individuality, not just performance," he exclaimed, his voice tinged with amazement. As they animatedly discussed the implications, a profound realization dawned upon Kelly. This was the moment she had needed to root herself in a new reality. She could channel her past failures into something exceptional, bringing forth elements of surprise and innovation. However, the question remained. Would the richness of this vision translate into successful execution? How would others perceive their ambitious endeavor? The thrill of creation was overshadowed by the looming dread of judgment. As she glanced at the blueprint glistening under the dim garage light, one thought resonated louder than the others. They had come too far to turn back now. The true measure of their capabilities was on the brink of reveal. The night wrapped around them, but within Kelly, a storm brewed, a fierce blend of excitement and anxiety mingled with the knowledge that the true test of their work would soon arrive. What awaited her on the other side of this endeavor? Would she step toward triumph or revisit the shadows of her past? Her heart raced as they prepared for the next step in their project. Was it time to confront not just the machinery they were building, but the doubts that had plagued her for too long? What awaited them when they finally dared to show the world their creation? As dawn broke, Kelly felt an electric pulse in the air, a sharp contrast to the calm that had enveloped their garage the night before. Today was not just another day of tinkering. It was the day they would begin to implement their new design. The buzz of machinery and metal shavings promised the kind of tangible progress she craved, yet the specter of doubt lurked, whispering reminders of past failures. Still, Ethan had a way of painting over her fears with strokes of optimism. His enthusiasm was infectious, like sunlight piercing through storm clouds. As they gathered their materials, he looked at her with unwavering confidence. "Mom, today is the day we show them what we can do." His faith stirred something deep within her, a fierce determination battling against the incessant whispers of inadequacy. During their session, they dedicated the first few hours to assembling the core components of their design. With each piece that connected, she felt a piece of herself being reassembled too. She focused intently, guiding parts into place, the rhythmic clatter of tools a soothing soundtrack. The sun rose ever higher, illuminating the workshop, and Kelly caught a glimpse of their creation taking shape. It was more than just an engine. It was a testament to not only her skills, but their collaborative spirit. With each advancement, she felt more grounded, more reassured in her decision to take this leap. However, as they transitioned to the more intricate features, fitting components that showcased their artistic vision, self-doubt crept in again. What if this looked more like folly than ingenuity? Each design element introduced was a risk, one that exposed her to the possibility of ridicule. "Remember," she softly reminded Ethan as they discussed the aesthetics of their work, "it's okay for things to not turn out perfectly. We're crafting something unique." The words felt both empowering and tethering. If only she could completely embrace that idea herself. But the moment of struggle came sooner than she expected. As she attempted to secure the final piece of their design, it slipped from her hands, crashing onto the workbench. The sound echoed like a crack through her confidence. "What if we've gone too far?" she blurted, the weight of fear tipping the balance of her resolve. "What if we've messed up?" Ethan paused, his brow furrowed. "We haven't messed up, Mom. We're inventing. Remember, every great idea comes with challenges." His belief pierced through her cloud of uncertainty, igniting the fire within her once again. With a deep breath, she retrieved the fallen piece. Perhaps she needed to lean into that fear instead of resisting it. Each setback could guide their next move. It would be the very essence of discovery. Her hands steadied as she focused, intent on not allowing that moment of clumsiness to define their progress. As they worked, she initiated discussions about potential features that would elevate their engine's design. Inspiration bubbled forth. They could focus on durability, efficiency, and sustainability, each element weaving carefully into their evolving vision. Hours slipped away before she realized they had created something beautiful and functional. With the framework set, they stepped back to admire their work, but an unsettling question lingered: how would they present this to the world? "Why don't we do a test?" Ethan suggested, a mischievous smile playing on his face. "Let us show how it works before showing anyone else. Do you think we're ready?" Kelly responded, caught off guard by the brilliance of the idea. But deep down, she could feel a stirring like power rippling through her veins, ignited by the sheer audacity of her son's proposal. "Yes, we have to. It's like our last step before the world sees." This was it. It was time for action. They had to find the confidence to test their creation, to offer themselves a chance to triumph over the looming fears of exposure. As they prepared for the moment that would define their effort, anticipation mixed with the old, familiar thread of apprehension swirled within her. In that charged silence, one thought echoed in her mind. The true measure of their creation was only moments away. Would this be a breakthrough moment? Or would it unravel into chaos, echoing the failures of the past? Kelly held her breath as they took their positions. The world stood still, waiting for the spark that would illuminate their endeavor. Did she have what it takes to face this moment, not just as a creator, but as a person ready to redefine what success meant? Could she rise above the shadows, or would they ensnare her yet again? The silence of the garage thickened, a crucible of anticipation as Kelly and Ethan stood before their creation, heartbeats syncopated with the rising intensity in the air. With a nod of encouragement from her son, Kelly positioned herself near the control panel, her fingers trembling not just with nerves, but with a surge of defiance against her self-doubt. "Okay, here goes," she breathed, though the words sounded more like a mantra than a proclamation of certainty. She flipped the switch, a bold action that opened a portal to possibility, to transformation. The slight whir of machinery greeted her, a sound that filled her with elation and fear in one breath. Ethan's wide grin mirrored her inner turmoil. "It sounds alive," he exclaimed. His excitement pulled her out of her spiraling thoughts. They were done painstakingly crafting this design, breathing life into it through their shared effort. But the stakes felt impossibly high, knowing that one misstep could ruin everything. With a determined glance at the control panel, she glanced at Ethan, who nodded in reassurance. As the engine rumbled, Kelly felt threads of potential weaving through her chest. But what if those threads unraveled? What if the engine sputtered and failed? The taste of failure lingered bitterly in her mouth, a flavor she was all too familiar with. She had hesitated too long, feared too much. Then came a jolt, sharp and unforgiving. The engine emitted a sputter, sending a frisson of dread racing down her spine. Panic surged as she wrestled with instinct. Should she shut it down? A wave of doubt crashed against her resolve, but then Ethan's hand gripped her forearm, grounding her. "Mom, we can fix it. This is part of the process. Remember?" His conviction sparked a flicker of belief within her. She realized she had a choice. Allow herself to cower in the face of fear or confront it head-on, drawing strength from her creation rather than shame from its imperfections. Taking a breath, she leaned toward the engine, eyes narrowed with focus. She recalled all the nights spent studying blueprints and troubleshooting failures. This was where her knowledge converged with her emotional landscape, a perfect storm of intellect and instinct swirling into determination. "Let us recalibrate what we need, shift this piece, and boost the feed," she instructed, her voice steadier now. Together, they dove into the intricacies of the machine, her hands moving with purpose and precision. She felt not just the mechanics of the engine, but a newfound power coursing through her, the realization that she could indeed advocate for her ideas. The engine responded. With a raucous screeching, it roared to life, a symphony of metal and motion that sent adrenaline coursing through her veins. Kelly's heart soared as she grinned, but the weight of expectation replaced the earlier thrill. "Do you think it'll hold up?" she whispered, uncertainty bubbling back to the surface. "Sure it will. Let us just keep pushing it," Ethan shouted, as if pushing against the tide of worry she couldn't shake. Once more, the connection they shared bolstered her spirit. They watched as the engine reached its apex, a cacophony of sound and potential. Kelly felt a mixture of triumph and vulnerability. Had they truly conquered their fears, or was this merely a temporary shift in the narrative of their journey? She pondered the words she'd spoken so often about imperfection. It struck her that maybe their invention was less about exceptional success and more about sheer audacity to engage with the creative process. However, just as solace began to settle, the engine sputtered again, faltering this time ominously. The noise echoed through the garage, pulling her back from her reverie. "No, no, no!" Kelly cried out, and panic surged in her chest. As the engine shuddered violently, she caught Ethan's eyes, which mirrored her own swirling chaos. "Mom, don't you see? We can adjust. What if this is just one more challenge? Don't give up now." His faith filled her with a spark of courage. In that moment, she grasped a profound truth. Every setback bore within it the seeds of resilience, and through this journey, they were discovering their capabilities as makers and innovators. She could either retreat into fear or embrace the tumult as part of their evolution. The echoes of the engine's erratic sounds surged into another round of hope. Kelly realized she was not just creating an engine, they were crafting a future. The mechanics of their relationship and the resilience cultivated through challenge defined not only their invention, but their journey together. As she steadied her breath, planning the next adjustments, a new question loomed. What awaited them in the uncharted territory that lied ahead? Could they unveil the real brilliance of their efforts? Or would this frenetic energy transform into something unforeseen? With a concerted effort, Kelly focused on recalibrating the various components of the engine, exuding a sense of calm largely cultivated through Ethan's persistent optimism. Each adjustment she made felt like a metaphorical tightening of her resolve against the tumult of self-doubt that threatened to derail her. The steady rhythm of her own breath became a contrast to the chaotic machinery, a reminder that she possessed the knowledge and skills to navigate this challenge. "Let's check the fuel injector timing," Kelly proposed, her voice cutting through the uncertainty that lingered in the air like a damp fog. She had often doubted her expertise, yet at this moment, the confidence came not from the absence of fear, but from the recognition that she was capable of confronting it. Ethan quickly began taking measurements. their teamwork a testament to the bond they had cultivated through the weeks of tireless work. As she positioned herself closer to the engine, a flash of realization struck her about the mechanics of not just the engine, but of her personal development. Each obstacle they had encountered bore similarities to the trials she had faced in her career. She had often found herself on the sidelines, hesitating to voice her ideas or step into leadership roles, fearing rejection or ridicule. But with Ethan collaborating by her side, she felt an unexpected ability to push past those reservations, inciting a transformative coming-of-age within her. "Mom, it's back to where it started," Ethan yelled, breaking her concentration. The engine sputtered and wheezed once more, but this time, she heard a different sound and undertone of promise amidst the cacophony. Instead of despair, she felt a surge of curiosity. She knelt down, honed in on the rhythm of the sound, and recognized that it wasn't just failure. It was variability and opportunity for innovation. "What if we change the compression ratio?" she proposed, excitement building once more. A notion struck her. She had spent years evolving into a better version of herself, and each setback with the engine echoed that process. They weren't merely modifying an engine. They were redefining their identities within a dynamic context. Ethan chimed in with enthusiasm. "Yeah, and we can also tweak the airflow to get more torque. Let's do it." The collaboration between them became an unspoken pact, an understanding that growth stemmed from exploration and adaptation. As she launched into new calculations and modifications, Kelly was struck by how she had hidden a vital part of herself, the courage to embrace her creativity as a technical prowess. It was exhilarating, the thrill of discovery mixed with the anxiety of stepping into the unknown. Each wrench rotation was an affirmation that they were far from finished, not just mechanically, but personally. Suddenly, amidst the wrenches and the noise, a thought sharpened in her mind. What other hidden talents had she relegated to the shadows? Had she assumed all roles in her life too rigidly, denying parts of her that sought to break free? With renewed vigor, she calculated and recalibrated in unison with Ethan. Encouraged by their collective enthusiasm, they pushed forward, eventually producing a low, reverberating hum that filled the garage with palpable energy. "Mom, it's coming together," Ethan exclaimed, his youthful exuberance infectious. Kelly couldn't help but chuckle at the irony. The thrill they felt wasn't just about the engine. It was a reflection of their evolving identities, manifesting as something much greater than a machine. Yet, as they reveled in the crests of their progress, the engine emitted a sudden jolting noise, a warning sign that both excited and terrified Kelly. Uncertainty surged as she met Ethan's wide-eyed gaze. "What do we do now?" she barely managed to whisper, a mix of fear and exhilaration swirling within her. "Let us be brave," he suggested, his youthful face a mirror of her own internal struggle. "We have to push through this." Taking a deep breath, she began to formulate a plan. Was her hidden talent for navigating uncertainty finally surfacing? And with it, could she lead them both through what lay ahead? As the engine, now wheezing chaotically, beckoned for answers, Kelly wondered. Were they about to discover the depths of their potential, or would this engine reveal something darker lurking in the shadows of their ambitious pursuits? Kelly's heart raced as the engine coughed again, a discordant but strangely rhythmic sound that left both her and Ethan momentarily frozen. Her instincts kicked in, demanding action. This was an inflection point. The chaos mirrored her own internal struggle. The question loomed. Would she succumb to fear once more, or could she harness this moment as a catalyst for growth? "Let us try isolating the throttle position sensor," she suggested, finding her voice amidst the turmoil. It was a tactical decision, but also a deeper commitment to embracing her capabilities. What had once been a hesitation was morphing into proactive determination. Ethan eagerly scrambled for the tools while Kelly prepared herself to dive deeper into the intricate workings of the engine. The familiar cold metal of the tools felt grounding in her hands. Each twist and turn was a soothing reminder of her training and hard-won experience. She allowed herself to dwell on how she often avoided such complexities in her professional life, echoing her fears of inadequacy that had previously shadowed her every decision. Ethan's voice cut through her thoughts. "Mom, if we make adjustments here and here," he pointed at the sensitive electronic systems, "we could override the failure. It might just need a nudge." Her son's optimism was infectious, igniting a spark of creativity in her that she had long thought dimmed. Exactly, she affirmed, the gears in her mind shifting. Innovation requires not just courage but collaboration. Together we can reframe this challenge. Yet, as she worked alongside Ethan, the realization of their interdependence weighed heavily on her. His youthful idealism reminded her of her own early ambitions, the aspirations that had seemed stunted by a fear of stepping into the limelight. Confidence and self-doubt fought for dominance. She recognized that this engine's mechanical issues mirrored her struggles with self-assertion in a male-dominated industry. With each calculated adjustment they made, the bond between them deepened. Kelly was surprised by how much she enjoyed this process, the liberation found in creative problem-solving. Every successful tweak resonated within her, filling her with newfound vitality. But something deeper tugged at her, a reminder of the pivotal moments that marked a departure in her career and life. What if, she pondered, each misfire of the engine was a chance for transformation rather than failure? As they worked, she recalled peers who de-challenged her expertise or moments when she de-swallowed her voice out of fear of rejection. These memories stung, but they also catalyzed her resolve. She was not done evolving, neither was this engine. Let us push through, she asserted, determination layering her words. We've tackled obstacles before, and we can do it again. The engine is our reflection, it can ignite if we allow ourselves to be brave. Ethan's nod affirmed her belief. They were a team forged by perseverance and innovation. With an expert hand, she made the final adjustment, confidence humming beneath the surface of her uncertainty. Would this be the breakthrough they had been aiming for, a defining moment for both the machine and for her very identity? As they stepped back, breath held in anticipation, the engine roared to life, a sound that echoed the raw vitality of discovery. Then, the noise sputtered again, but this time, it was different. His abrupt shout mingled with an underlying strength. It was then that the engine unleashed a burst of energy, shooting a cascade of vibrant sparks and fumes. "Mom, look out!" Ethan cried, instinctively yanking her back as she staggered, stunned by the sheer force of the eruption. For a fleeting moment, awe replaced all fear. But as the smoke cleared, Kelly was left with a nagging discomfort. Had they simply patched over the real issues? Or had they unearthed something vital lurking beneath the surface? With their hearts racing, they surveyed the scene. The machinations of potential danger had revealed something unarticulated, a challenge she couldn't ignore. What lessons lay ahead amidst the chaos of their accomplishment? Would this engine prove to be a harbinger of deeper, more profound truths about her professional life, or merely a triumphant illusion? The next step had become a question of not just mechanical expertise, but personal revelation. The acrid scent of burnt oil hung in the air, mingling with the remnants of adrenaline coursing through Kelly's veins. The engine, after revealing its ferocity, sat silently, as if holding its breath, much like she was. The unexpected eruption had jolted her. Amidst the chaos, an unsettling question loomed in her mind. What if the spark she had ignited in that engine mirrored something deeper within her? "Are you okay, Mom?" Ethan's voice broke through her reverie, practical and steady. She turned to him, a mix of gratitude and anxiety bubbling beneath the surface. That brief moment had revealed not just the fragility of the machine, but the fragility of her own confidence. I think so," she replied, her voice steady despite the inner turmoil. "But we need to analyze what just happened." In that moment, a shift took place within her. Instead of succumbing to fear, she decided to dissect the experience. This was a chance, both for the engine and for her sense of self. Ethan approached the engine again, running his fingers across the cooling metal. "I think we might have bypassed something important," he offered, looking up at her with those wide, hopeful eyes. "What if we dig deeper? Really understand what made it go wild?" His youthful enthusiasm was an anchor. "You're right, Ethan," she said, a thought forming. "Every failure has lessons embedded within it. What do we need to confront here?" As they examined the uncoupled wiring and shattered sensors, the scene felt akin to her career, a fragmented puzzle where pieces were strewn across the landscape of her professional decisions. Each error she'd made writ large in her mind, a mentor's dismissive tone, an oversight in a critical meeting, her own hesitance to claim authority. Yet with this situation at hand, she felt an urge to reassemble those jagged pieces. Let us document everything, she instructed, reigniting her focus. If we want to understand this fully, we need a methodical approach. Let us not leave anything to chance. The task before them transformed into a collaborative blueprint, establishing clear connections between their actions and observations. Each wire they traced linked not just to the engine, but to her psyche, sparking revelations. As they worked, Kelly found herself pulling from the depths of her knowledge, recalling principles she had all but discarded in the daily struggles of navigating her profession. You know, Ethan, she said, there's a reason we take measurements and follow protocols. Sometimes, our instincts lead us astray if we don't double-check what we think we know. He nodded, encouraged. So, we're like engineers investigating our own barriers? Exactly, she exclaimed, amazed by his perceptiveness. It's about dismantling misconceptions, question by question. In the same way, I must confront the misjudgments I've made in the past, each one a lesson, each one an opportunity to rebuild stronger. They explored the array of disconnected parts, lifting components to glean insights. It was during this phase that she began to see parallels between this engine's disarray and her journey. Each complex mechanism required precise timing and integration, just like her professional identity needing careful calibration to amplify her voice. Mom, look at this. Ethan's voice pierced her contemplations again. She turned to him, discovering he'd uncovered a crucial fault in the wiring that could have caused the chaos they'd witnessed. Now we're on to something, she replied, feeling a wave of clarity wash over her. It was a bond not only between mother and son, but between intellect and intuition. The lessons were not just academic, they were deeply personal. As they began to reassemble the engine, Kelly recognized a powerful transformation taking place within her. She was rediscovering lost facets of herself and reshaping her narrative. It flowed with every adjustment they made. Mom, we're engineers in our own right, Ethan mused, a glimmer of pride in his voice. She smiled, her heart swelling with a sense of purpose. Yes, we truly are. Yet an undercurrent of apprehension still lingered. This engine wasn't merely metal and grease. It was bound to reflect the journey she had neglected to embrace fully. The deeper they went, the more she suspected that this undertaking might unearth more than mere technical malfunction. It could push her to confront her limits socially, personally, and vocationally. As they tightened the last bolt, the weight of anticipation hung heavily in the air. Would reviving this engine ignite her own path toward redemption? The realization flashed before her. The heart-pounding energy of discovery awaited her just ahead. Let us test it again, she urged Ethan, her heart racing. They both took a step back, and the engine waited, dormant yet brimming with potential. Would it roar to life again, resonating with their shared commitment to embrace whatever revelations emerged? The click of the ignition lingered in the silence, and she realized this wasn't just about the machine. Something was about to surface, and it would test not just her skills, but who she ultimately chose to become. Would she stand resolute at that crossroad, confident in her domain, or falter amidst fear? As the time to ignite drew closer, a culmination of efforts and emotions, she felt the resounding weight of her journey mounting behind her. The moment felt poised to redefine everything. The silence was profound as Kelly took one last deep breath, the air heavy with anticipation. With each heartbeat, she felt engulfed by a whirlwind of hope and trepidation. Today was not just about an engine. It was about courage, identity, and ultimately, self-acceptance. They had meticulously repaired the wiring, recalibrated the sensors, and reinforced their shared vision. The past weeks had forged an inseparable bond, grounded in trials that mirrored both a mechanical and personal renaissance. The flick of the ignition switch now stood as a bridge to her future, a chance to break free from lingering doubts and reclaim her voice. Here we go, Kelly announced, resolve surging through her veins, cradling the weight of their combined determination. Ethan's eager nod beside her mirrored her resoluteness, his youthful faith serving as a powerful motivator. She flipped the switch and felt the electric connection surge beneath her fingertips, a charged pulse that encapsulated their journey. With a deep rumble, the engine came to life, its sound rich and resonant. It was more than a mechanical roar. It echoed their collective transformation. Each vibration was a reminder of every fear they had conquered together, every obstacle faced, every moment of doubt turned into strength. "Mom, it's working," Ethan shouted, glee radiating from his every word. "Yes, we did it," she replied, tears welling as relief washed over her. In that moment, she could feel not just a machine revving, but the engine of her ambitions reigniting. The symphony they had crafted wasn't merely an assemblage of metal, it stood as a testament to their resilience. In the wild rush of excitement, a powerful realization dawned. This engine was a reflection of her journey. It encapsulated her growth, every misstep and triumph captured in its rhythmic sound. No longer would she feel overshadowed by the opinions of others. She was an engineer and architect of her destiny. As they watched the engine operate flawlessly, co-workers approached, drawn by the sound radiating from within the garage. A combination of initial curiosity quickly transitioned into palpable admiration. As they huddled nearby, Kelly felt a wave of support wash over her, a community of respect forming, a stark contrast to the judgment she had once feared. "Wow, this is impressive," one of her former colleagues exclaimed, breaking through the echoes of her insecurities. "How did you manage to do all this?" With newfound confidence, Kelly shared the story, the challenges equated to opportunities for learning, the moments of doubt replaced with unwavering belief. For the first time, she stood tall, proud of her contributions, ready to command attention not through a facade, but through authenticity. Ethan's beaming face validated her journey. He had witnessed not just the transformation of their engine, but the revitalization of his mother's spirit. "We showed that when you're passionate, you can do anything," he proclaimed with unrestrained joy. In that pivotal moment, surrounded by camaraderie and admiration, she felt a solid sense of belonging. The acknowledgement from her peers marked the culmination of her journey, a reaffirmation that her voice mattered, her expertise mattered, and her dreams could indeed take flight. Kelly turned towards Ethan, courageously realizing that this project had achieved far more than technical success. It had become a merging of identities: the engineer, the mother, the unapologetic creator. "Together, we built more than an engine. We built our future," she said, and the authenticity echoed through the garage. Looking back at the journey that had led her here, she felt the layers of self-doubt that once shrouded her dissipate, revealing a triumphant heart ready to accept its destiny. This wasn't the end, it was merely the beginning. As they stood watching their masterpiece, she made a steadfast promise to herself, a promise to embrace every opportunity, to advocate for her voice, and to share the lessons she had learned with those who might still be lurking in the shadows, waiting for the sparks that ignite their own engines of ambition. With that triumphant realization settling deep within her, she knew this was her moment of rebirth, one of reclaimed purpose, renewed passion, and profound fulfillment. The storms of doubt had been weathered, and she emerged not just as a mechanic, but as a force of resilience ready to face the world. As the onlookers cheered and the engine purred confidently, a new chapter was woven into the narrative of her life. And now, the journey would embrace not just her dreams, but all those who dared to believe in their potential, just as she had. Now is your time to take a stand. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Every single interaction fuels our community. Comment below with your reactions and theories about today's ending. Every thought matters. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion, and remember, your support is what keeps this message alive. Don't wait even one more second to share.